Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members. We've been here for hours on one of the most consequential bills that is attempting to create sweeping new law that's going to circumvent our United States Constitution. We heard here earlier from the author that United States citizens would not be swept up into this legislation, but the fact is that this legislation isn't just an immigration bill, it's a bill that is going to impact American United States citizens as well. In fact, ICE has deported as many as 70 United States citizens in the last 5 years. There was one United States citizen that was detained by ICE for over a month, and he's now getting a $150,000 settlement. This legislation is fraught with issues left and right. We'll start one with law enforcement. Our law enforcement, after we had a brutal fight on the floor of this House in 2017 on Senate Bill 4, left our communities, despite y'all's denial that there's no discrimination, that there's no impact to the community. In my district, we had hundreds of parents show up lining the walls, concerned about being separated from their children just at the mere conversation of the passage of Senate Bill 4 in 2017, just because of the mere anti-immigrant rhetoric that Donald Trump was spewing from his mouth, because of the rhetoric that spewed from this chamber. These parents worried about what's going to happen to them if they get separated from their children, if they're driving down the street to take them to a park and their tail light is out and they get stopped and can't prove their citizenship. We're here back again, years, and that was for some of us our first session, and for others that have been here for years, saw what happened to this chamber, saw what happened to this state because of legislation like that. And since 2017, our law enforcement has worked hard day and night to rebuild those damaged community relations, to rebuild the trust so that family violence survivors would be willing to come forward and report that they were getting beat up by the person that they were with. We heard from the Texas Council on Family Violence earlier. We have heard from survivor advocates that women who are abused, who are in situations, will not be reporting to the police, making our communities less safe because of legislation like this. Our law enforcement that works hard day and night, we ask them to be CPS workers, we ask them to be homeless liaisons, we ask them to be mental health counselors, and now we're asking them to be immigration officials. While we have a shortage of law enforcement, a crisis of a law enforcement police shortage in our state. For what? For us to be able to claim that we're tough on our border, when this bill, in fact, is not restricted to the border. It impacts every single one of our districts, from Dallas to El Paso to Houston to West Texas. And for many of us that are standing up here, we know certain cities that we cannot drive through because of the color of our skin, because we know that we are going to be pulled over. For some of you, that doesn't matter because of the color of your skin. For some of us and our constituents, we live it every single day. And to damage those police-community relations is going to be exacerbated, and we're going to be taken back to 2017. This legislation is also bad for business. We know and we've heard how you individuals are okay taking advantage of immigrant labor at a cheap cost. We know that we have a shortage of workers in so many different industries in this state, but we are now empowering law enforcement to go into a place of business to question people about their citizenship, So we're now going to empower local police to be able to do ICE raids in local business. You think about every single industry, whether it's construction, medical, agriculture. So for those employers, get ready to potentially lose workers. We also heard testimony during the committee hearing about family separation. Moms who, whether they cross the border or they have their children in places like my town in Dallas or Houston, can now, under this law, be separated from their children. We saw on concertina wire, razor wire, moms risking their lives to try to bring their children to a better life, having miscarriages in barbed razor wire because of the cruelty of this state. Moms separated from their children, put into the hands of a foster care system that we know is fraught with issues. And finally, we know what this is trying to do. We know that this is trying to circumvent our Constitution, long-standing principles of the Supremacy Clause, of preemption, so that Texas can try to flex its muscle with the power that it does not have. There is a reason that our federal government are the ones responsible for determining whether somebody is a citizen or not. Because those are not easy determinations to make. Those are complex determinations, which is in the hands of the federal government. We also heard about MOUs between Texas and Mexico. And while some of those memorandums of understanding may apply to local issues, they do not have the power, and the MOUs that are in place right now do not address what happens when a state is going to be given individuals back. These are conversations that must take place at diplomatic levels between federal government to federal government. The fact is, we know why we're here. Y'all saw the articles today, and I'm sure others will speak to a lot of the truth and the reasons that we know that we're here. And this is another attack, not just on people of color, another attack on Latinos, another attack on our Black brothers and sisters. It's an attack on our Constitution. It's an attack on the basic principles of freedom that our state should be priding on. It is an attack on our families. So that's why we're asking individuals to support this amendment.